We're free, Jim. We're finally free.
Yes, Huck, but we ain't safe yet.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, sometimes you pick up a classic book and you're sort of bracing yourself, right? For the heavy morals, maybe a really tangled plot.
Yeah, you expect a certain solemnity, maybe?
Exactly. But diving into the sources for Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, the very first thing you hit isn't some gentle welcome. It's more like a warning shot, fired right at you, the reader.
It really is. It's this ultimate literary dare, isn't it? Twain kicks off with that famous notice. He's basically challenging you not to take it too seriously.
Or maybe daring you to see the seriousness hidden under all the wild comedy.
That's the genius of it, I think. It's pure reverse psychology. He lays out these consequences, like a judge reading a sentence.
Yeah, let's get that straight from the source.
Right.
Quote, persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted. Persons attempting to find a moral in it will be banished. Persons attempting to find a plot in it will be shot.
Which is just brilliant because, let's be honest, the book is absolutely dripping with motives. It's saturated with moral questions, and it has one of the most well-structured, even if chaotic, plots in American literature. He's telling you straight up, defy me if you want the real story.
And that's pretty much our mission today, isn't it? We're walking right into that trap. We're going to find the motives, dig up the morals, expose the plot consequences, be damned.
Bring on the banishment.
Exactly. We've got a massive pile of source text here detailing, every bend in the Mississippi, every lie Huck tells, every contradiction. We want to give you that fast track to the core stuff.
But before we even get to Huck floating down the river, there's something foundational we need to touch on. It often gets missed.
Okay.
The language itself, the skill involved. Right after the notice, there's this explanatory note.
Ah, right. Where he talks about the dialects.
Exactly. He insists these aren't just random accents thrown in. He didn't guess. This sets up the whole claim to realism from the get-go.
And that attention to how people actually sounded is so key to making that world feel real. He lists, 7 different ways of talking?
7 distinct forms. You've got the Missouri Negro dialect, the really backwoods southwestern one, the basic Pike County dialect.
And the variations on that Pike County one, too.
4 modified varieties, yeah. And he stresses they were done painstakingly. He says he knew these ways of speaking intimately. It's not just color.
No, it feels almost like early anthropology, right? He's observing culture through speech.
Absolutely. He's mapping the social structure of the pre-Civil War South right there in the way people talk.
Yeah.
The language has this incredible precision, even if what happens next is just pure, wonderful chaos.
Okay, so that realism, that grounding in how people actually are, leads us straight into Huck's first big problem. This massive conflict between what society wants, what they call civilization.
Civilization.
And his own, natural urge for just freedom.
And the forces of civilization are, they're embodied by the widow Douglas and her sister, Miss Watson.
Right, Miss Watson. The sources describe her as a tolerable, slim old maid with goggles on, and she gets the job of trying to teach Huck.
Yeah, trying to hammer in spelling, reading, writing just a little. But it's the constant correction, isn't it? The nagging about everything.
Oh, it's relentless. It's like a list of, don't put your feet up there, Huckleberry.
Don't scrunch up like that, Huckleberry, set up straight.
It's physical, it's moral, it's everything. It must feel like being squeezed into a box.
Totally. And for Huck, that box is civilization. And he just finds it unbearable, which, makes sense for him.
And the religious side of it, he rejects that instantly, too.
Because it's coming from Miss Watson.
Yeah.
He dislikes her, so he dislikes what she's selling. She tells him about the good place heaven.
And Huck's immediate thought is, well, I wish I was in the bad place, because he sees no advantage in going wherever she's headed.
Yeah. It's this gut feeling. If the quality like it, it's probably not for him. He wants comfort, freedom, not rules about posture.
And you see that practical side of him right away when Tom Sawyer comes into the picture.
Tom. And his gang of robbers.
This contrast is set up immediately. Tom is all about fantasy, theater, stuff he read in books.
Oh, completely. The rules for the gang. Straight out of adventure novels, they're supposed to kill people, hold them for ransom.
But Huck, always the practical one, asks the obvious question. What does ransomed actually mean?
And Tom has to fess up. I don't know, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
I've seen it in books, and so, of course, that's what we've got to do.
It's hilarious. The best Tom can figure is maybe you keep people till they're ransomed to death.
Which just confirms Huck's suspicion that Tom's games are Well, kind of dumb and a lot of trouble. Imagine feeding captives who are always trying to escape.
Yeah, where's the profit in that?
Exactly. And this gap, Tom's book learning versus Huck's common sense, that's a key satirical vein running through the whole thing.
Like the genies, Tom thinks you can rub an old lamp or a ring.
And poof. A genie appears to build you a diamond palace 40 miles long or pull up a shot tower.
Huck's just like, really? His skepticism keeps the story grounded, you know. It forces you, the reader, to decide, do you trust the books or do you trust the river?
A choice Huck himself has to make constantly.
But that immediate problem of civilization versus freedom gets sort of violently resolved or maybe just smashed when Pap shows up in Chapter 5.
Oh, Pap, the ultimate anti-civilizing force. The description of him is just brutal.
Terrifying. Visceral is the word. It's all about decay.
He's most 50, hair long and tangled and greasy, but it's his skin color that really gets Huck.
Yeah, that's haunting. Not just white, but tree-toed white, a fish belly white. Ugh.
And his clothes are just rags. He's the embodiment of neglect, decay, anti-society, pure degradation.
And his first reaction to seeing Huck, rage about education.
Right. He curses Huck for learning to read and write, even tears up a picture Huck got in school.
And that line is so telling. None of the family couldn't read before they died. I can't. And here you're swelling yourself up like this.
Education is betrayal to Pap. It lifts Huck out of the muck Pap lives in, and he can't stand it. It's a personal insult.
And of course, forget Huck's soul. Pap's immediate focus is
money. Always the money. That $6,000 Huck smartly gave to Judge Thatcher.
Which leads to that famous and honestly pretty funny attempt by the judge to reform Pap.
The Temperance Pledge. Oh, it's a masterpiece of failed good intentions. Twain just lays out the whole farce.
They give him a nice room. He signs the pledge. Everyone's crying over his clean hand.
Calling it the holiest time on record. They actually think they've done it. Saved him.
But the source text just walks you through the inevitable collapse. Night falls.
Pap climbs out on the porch roof, slides down, trades his brand new coat for a jug of 40-rod whiskey.
Which sounds absolutely lethal, by the way.
Oh, it was rough stuff. He climbs back up, breaks his arm doing it, gets drunk anyway, and has a good old time.
And the description of the room the next morning.
They had to take soundings before they could navigate it.
Huh. Perfect. The judge's conclusion is just gold, too.
Yeah, maybe a shotgun could reform Pap, but nothing else. It's dark humor, but it perfectly sets the stage. Huck has to get away. Not just from the widow's tight grip, but from Pap's chaotic violence, too. He needs a total escape.
So Pap wins that round, basically. Drags Huck off to that cabin in the woods.
Right. And at first, Huck actually kind of likes it. It's lazy, right? Fishing, smoking.
No books nor study. No pressure. He slides back into the old ways pretty easily.
Until it's not easy anymore. Until the cowhide part. The beatings get too much, and Pap starts locking him in for days when he goes off drinking.
Yeah, that changes things. Then comes the really scary part. The delirium tremens.
DTs. Pap gets wild, sees snakes, starts chasing Huck around the cabin with a knife.
Calling him the angel of death. That's terrifying.
Absolutely. Huck realizes then, okay, this isn't just uncomfortable, this is life or death. He has to escape. But just running away isn't enough. Pap would hunt him down.
So he needs to disappear completely.
Yeah.
He needs to be dead.
And this is where Huck's practical genius really comes out, especially when you compare it to Tom Sawyer's nonsense. This isn't a game. It's survival.
It's calculated. It's detailed. He finds that old rusty wood saw.
Hidden away, yeah. And saws out a piece of the bottom log, creates his escape hatch.
Then the murder scene. It's pure stagecraft, but deadly serious.
Masterful misdirection. He needs it to look like a robbery gone bad, so he shoots a wild pig.
Uses the pig's blood, hacking its throat with an axe, splatters it around, smashes the door to look like a break-in.
He's thinking like a detective, anticipating what they'll look for. But he doesn't stop there.
No, he needs to account for the body.
So he fills an old sack with big rocks, drags it from the blood trail down to the river, makes a convincing drag mark, and dumps the sack.
Simulates disposing of a corpse, sinks it right out of sight.
Brilliant. But then the final touch. The misdirection away from the river.
Yeah, the cornmeal trail. He tears a hole in the bag, makes a path away from the river towards some shallow lake.
A lake that doesn't connect to the river, importantly. Leaves Pap's whetstone there as a clue.
He even thinks, Tom Sawyer would have appreciated the fancy touches.
Right. He's using Tom's idea style, but for something real. Grim, practical survival. If he messes this up, Pap or someone else finds him, he has to get it right.
So he pulls it off, escapes to Jackson's Island, finds some peace and quiet for a bit.
Yeah, solitude. Until that loaf of bread floats by.
The baker's bread. The good stuff with the quality eat.
And the source explains why it's there. It's filled with quicksilver. People believed it would float towards a drowned body.
So the very thing meant to find his supposed corpse ends up feeding him.
The irony is just perfect. Huck eats it and figures, well, maybe prayer does work sometimes, but only if it's the widow or the parson doing the praying. Not for him.
But that solitude doesn't last long. He finds a campfire still smoldering.
Uh-oh.
And eventually spots a figure under a blanket. He takes a chance, calls out, "Hello, Jim," and everything changes again.
And Jim's reaction is just, wow, pure terror. He thinks Huck's a ghost.
Jumps up, drops to his knees. "Don't hurt me, don't. I ain't ever done no harm to a ghost." It's heartbreaking.
It really is. But Huck reassures him, realizes Jim won't betray him, and crucially, Huck thinks, I was all right now. He's not alone anymore. He's found his alternative society right there on the island.
Based on trust and, well, mutual desperation.
Which leads to Jim's own story. Why is he on the island?
He confesses, doesn't he? Hesitantly. I run off.
And Huck, without missing a beat, promises secrecy. I'll stick to it. Honest Injun, I will.
Even though he knows what people will say, he immediately thinks they'll call him a low-down abolitionist and hate him for it.
But he chooses loyalty over the law anyway. It's his first huge moral test against society's rules. He thinks he's doing something wicked.
But his gut, his connection to Jim, tells him it's the right thing.
And we learn about Jim's reality pretty quick, too. His economic value in that system he's escaping.
"I owns myself," he says, "and I's worth $800. That's his measure of freedom, tied directly to the price tag put on him.
It's stark. But Jim's also tried to play the money game himself right, with predictably disastrous results.
Oh yeah, the busted speculations. They're funny, but also deeply critical of how rigged the system was.
First, he invests $10 in livestock. A cow.
Which promptly dies. He gets back maybe $1.10 from the hide, a massive loss.
Then he gives $5 to a one-legged nigger running a fake bank. Promised huge returns.
Yeah, $35 by year's end. Jim gets a worthless receipt. The bank vanishes overnight. Total scam.
And the best one, or maybe the saddest, is the last 10 cents.
Balloom's ass. He gives it to Balloom, this supposedly lucky guy.
Because Balloom heard the preacher say, giving to the poor is like lending to the Lord, and you'll get it back 100 times over.
So Balloom, taking it literally, just gives the 10 cents away to someone poor.
And Jim's conclusion. With his heavy resignation, he says if he could just get that 10 cents back, he'd call it squaw. Forget the 100-fold return.
It's just brilliant satire. On Jim's desperation, yes, but also on those empty promises of charity floating around.
And beyond money, Jim operates by a whole system of signs and superstitions. Folklore is his guide.
You see that with the dead man in the floating house they find?
Chapter 9. Jim insists they don't talk about him because he weren't buried, and that's bad luck. It invites haunting.
And Huck, being Huck, immediately makes that bad luck happen. Or seems to.
Yeah, the rattlesnake prank. He puts a dead rattlesnake on Jim's blanket.
Forgetting the key bit of snake lore. The mate always comes.
And it does. A copperhead this time. Bites Jim right on the heel.
Ouch. The cure involves, well, perhaps leftover whiskey.
Lots of it. Plus roasting and eating a piece of the snake. Old folk remedy. Jim's laid up for 4 days, can't walk.
And Jim really lays into Huck about it, doesn't he? Handling a snake's skin is awful bad luck.
Worse than seeing the new moon over your left shoulder 1,000 times. Which, Jim reminds Huck, is what killed old Hank Bunker.
How did Hank Bunker die again?
He fell off of the shot tower and spread himself out so that he was just a kind of a layer.
Grim. But it reinforces why Jim relies on these signs. In their world, superstition feels as real as a snake bite.
It's his way of navigating danger.
So life on the island continues, but Huck gets restless. He needs information.
Right. He can't just stay hidden forever. He needs to know what the townspeople think happened to him and Pap, and if they're looking for Jim.
Time for Huck's first spy mission.
And a disguise.
A gender disguise.
Huh.
He borrows a calico gown, puts on a sunbonnet, tries to act like a girl.
Jim tries to coach him, right? Tells him he doesn't walk right and quit pulling up my gown to get at my breeches pocket.
Yeah. The details are great. Huck knows he needs to perform gender, but he's terrible at it.
Which leads to that fantastic scene with Mrs. Judith Loftus. She sees right through him.
She's new in town, doesn't know Huck, but she figures him out instantly. He starts as Sarah Williams.
Then panics and changes it to Mary Williams.
Just tries to blend them. Sarah, Mary Williams. programs, it's a mess.
So he ditches that and becomes George Peters, a runaway apprentice heading to Goshen. Just lie after lie. But Mrs. Loftus isn't fooled by the names. It's his actions that give him away. 3 specific things.
This part is amazing. It's like practical forensics.
First, threading the needle. Huck holds the thread still and moves the needle to it. She says a woman holds the needle still and pokes the thread at it.
Okay, subtle. What's next?
The throwing test. She gets him to throw a lump of lead at a rat. Huck, being a boy, throws naturally from the wrist and elbow, almost nails it.
And how does she say a girl would throw?
Stiff-armed from the shoulder, like a hinge, and missed by a mile. Huck's accuracy betrays him.
Wow. Okay, number 3.
The catch. She drops the lead in his lap. Huck instinctively clamps his knees together to catch it.
And whereas a girl
Throws her knees apart. His automatic, unthinking movement gives him away completely.
It's brilliant. Performance failure 101, and she sends him off with that amazing name.
Sarah Mary Williams, George Alexander Peters. Perfect.
So after that close shave, they get back on the raft and head downriver, and we get into the whole river code thing.
Yeah, chapter 12. The ethics of survival. Specifically, borrowing versus plain old stealing.
Huck remembers Pap's philosophy. Weren't no harm to borrow things if you was meaning to pay him back sometime.
Convenient. The widow naturally called that just a soft name for stealing.
So Jim comes up with a compromise, a way to make their conscience feel better.
They decide to stop borrowing certain things, specifically crab apples and persimmons.
Why those?
Because crab apples ain't ever good, according to Jim, and persimmons won't be ripe for months.
Huh. So they virtuously give up stealing things that are worthless anyway.
Exactly. Their consciences are now comfortable. It's fantastic moral maneuvering.
But that slightly dodgy river code gets a serious reality check when they board the wreck. The Walter Scott.
Yeah, they go from borrowing melons to stumbling onto actual murderers, planning to leave a guy tied up to drown. Big escalation.
And Huck's reaction is interesting. He escapes, but then he feels bad.
Yeah, his conscience kicks in. He realizes how dreadful it was, even for murderers, to be in such a fix.
So he decides he has to help them, but not out of pure altruism.
No, he wants to get someone to rescue them so they can be properly hanged later.
Frontier justice via guilty conscience. He doesn't want them to cheat the hangman by drowning. It's such a perfectly twisted bit of morality.
It really is. Typical Huck.
Things get even more complicated, socially speaking, when the Duke and the King show up.
The con men. Once they're on the raft, the book really broadens its satirical lens from personal morality to, well, the whole mess of society.
But just before they arrive, Huck gets that detour into the Grangerford house, chapters 7 and 8.
Right. The Grangerfords. Peak frontier aristocracy, or at least their attempt at it. All surface, no substance.
The house sounds incredible. Painted chalk parrots, those squeaky crockery animals.
The fancy oilcloth table cover from Philadelphia. And the book's arranged just so. Bible, Pilgrim's Progress, Henry Clay's speeches, it's all for show.
And the art. Emmeline Grangerford, the dead poetess.
Oh, Emmeline. The queen of morbid tributes. Apparently she tried to get her poem about the deceased done before the undertaker arrived. Capture that fresh grief.
Her drawings sound unsettling. Women leaning on tombstones, crying over dead birds. Huck says they gave him the fantods.
I bet. And that unfinished one, the girl on the bridge with 3 pairs of arms, because Emmeline couldn't decide. Spidery and weird.
Yet Colonel Grangerford himself is presented as this picture of Southern gentility. Tall, slim, dressed all in white linen.
But always carrying a gun. That's the critique, isn't it? They adopt the manners, the look of high society, but underneath it's still fundamentally violent.
Which comes out in the feud. The pointless, endless feud with the Shepherdsons.
Young Buck explains it perfectly. It's been going on so long nobody even remembers what the row was about in the first place. Violence as tradition, civilization as a thin veneer over senseless brutality.
And right after that dose of aristocratic hypocrisy, you get the ultimate phonies climbing onto the raft.
The late Dauphin, the king and the rightful Duke of Bridgewater. Pure performance, pure fraud. They feed off the exact kind of societal pretense the Grangerfords represent.
Their first plan involves Shakespeare, right? Bad Shakespeare.
Hilariously bad. Practicing sword fights with wooden sticks, the Duke calling himself Richard III. Rehearsing Hamlet's soliloquy all wrong. It shows how easily charlatans could impress people starved for a bit of culture, however fake.
But the shore leaves aren't just about bad theater. There's that incredibly stark incident with Boggs and Colonel Sherburne.
Ugh, yes. Chapter 21. A brutal look at frontier violence and maybe even more chilling mob mentality.
Boggs is the town drunk. Always a carrying on like that when he's drunk. Makes threats he doesn't mean.
Threatens to kill Colonel Sherburne by 1 o'clock.
And Sherburne, described as a heap, the best-dressed man in that town, is cold as ice. He waits until precisely 1, warns Boggs calmly, and then just shoots him dead.
Calculated murder. And the town's reaction is telling. First excitement, then outrage, then the mob forms. Let's lynch Sherburne.
Which leads to Sherburne's absolutely scorching speech.
Oh, it's devastating. He stands on his porch roof, facing them down, unarmed, and just dissects their cowardice. Tells them they're not real men, just half men.
Says they wouldn't dare lynch anyone in daylight, only at night wearing masks. That the average man is a coward.
And that he wouldn't turn his back on any single one of them, but together as a mob, they're nothing. He calls their bluff, and they just melt away, humiliated.
Sherburne's a murderer, no question, but his analysis of the mob. It's one of Twain's sharpest critiques of, well, maybe American character itself. Collective cowardice.
And the king and duke see that cowardice, that gullibility, and they know exactly how to exploit it. Which brings us to their masterpiece.
The Royal Nonesuch?
The Royal Nonesuch. Genius-level con artistry built on understanding human nature.
The advertising is key. Thrilling tragedy of the King's Camelopard or the Royal Nonesuch? 50 cents admission.
And the kicker. Ladies and children not admitted.
That guarantees a full house of curious men, doesn't it? Promise them something dirty or scandalous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the tragedy itself.
It's just the king, naked, painted all colors of the rainbow, crawling around on all fours for maybe 10 seconds.
As splendid as a rainbow, the text says. The audience is utterly ripped off. Sold.
But here's the real con. It's not just the performance.
No, it's what happens after. The first audience realizes they've been had. But instead of warning everyone else,
they decide to protect their own pride. Let's go out quiet, they agree, and talk this show up and sell the rest to the town.
So they won't be the only fools. It's brilliant. They become complicit in the scam to save face.
That says so much about the town, about people. The Duke and King make a fortune, $465, and clear up before night 3.
When they know the original audience will be back with rotten eggs and cabbage stalks, ready for revenge.
Amazing. But their cons get darker, more complex. The Wilkes funeral scam.
Oh, this one's elaborate. They get all the inside info from a naive young man on a steamboat.
And decide to pose as the dead man, Peter Wilkes' long-lost brothers from England.
The king becomes Harvey Wilkes, the preacher brother. The Duke takes on William Wilkes, the deaf and mute brother, conveniently with a broken arm so he can't write or sign easily.
And this scam hits Huck differently, doesn't it?
It really does. Because the Wilkes girls, Mary Jane especially, are genuinely good. Kind, trusting, grieving.
Their innocence makes Huck feel ornery, disgusted with himself and the con men. He sees them preying on real sorrow.
It's his breaking point with the Duke and King. He decides, I'll hive that money for them or bust. He's going to sabotage the scam.
So he steals the bag of gold, the $6,000 inheritance.
But then panics where to hide it. In the chaos of the funeral prep, he makes a split-second decision.
And shoves it into Peter Wilkes' coffin, right on the dead man's chest, just before they nail the lid shut. Talk about high-stakes hiding places.
Incredible nerve. And the funeral itself continues the theme of social performance. The Undertaker.
Oh, the Undertaker is magnificent. So smooth, so glidingest, stealthiest. He's the master of ceremonies.
And when that dogfight breaks out in the cellar during the service, total disruption.
But the Undertaker just slides down, stops the noise, glides back, and whispers to the preacher.
He had a rat.
And that one tiny perfect explanation satisfies everyone. The whole town loves him for it.
Again, it's style over substance. Give the people a neat little story, and they're happy. Forget the grief, forget the potential fraud.
But the fraud gets exposed anyway when the real Wilkes brothers show up.
The real Harvey and William. Now things get messy. They try a handwriting test.
But it's inconclusive. The real William's arm is broken, so he can't write to provide a sample. The king just claims his William is a practical joker.
The town is desperate. The lawyer is pushing. What's the final solution?
Dig up the body, check for a tattoo. Peter Wilkes supposedly had a thin blue arrow on his chest, which the king couldn't possibly know about because it doesn't exist.
So the whole town, mob mentality again, heads to the graveyard at night with lanterns and shovels. Huck's right there in the thick of it.
They heave the coffin up, wrench the lid off, and just then a big flash of lightning illuminates the scene.
And what does it reveal?
The bag of gold, sitting right there on the corpse's chest, exactly where Huck hid it.
Pandemonium. Everyone scrambles for the money for the exits.
Yeah.
And in the chaos.
Huck makes his escape. The money he hid to save the girls ends up saving him. Irony strikes again.
But freedom never lasts long for Huck, does it? He gets back to the raft, finds Jim, but then...
Chapter XU1, the lowest blow. The king, that snake, sells Jim.
For $40. Sells him back into slavery to the Phelps family, Silas and Sally. Just despicable.
And this forces Huck into his biggest crisis of conscience yet. He truly believes helping Jim is a sin, that he'll go to hell for it.
He even tries to write a letter to Miss Watson, telling her where Jim is. But he can't do it.
He thinks about Jim, their friendship, Jim calling him the best friend Jim's ever had. He tears up the letter.
And makes the choice. All right, then, I'll go to hell. He chooses loyalty, friendship, over what he's been taught is salvation. It's the moral climax for Huck.
So he heads to the Phelps farm to steal Jim back, and immediately gets mistaken for
Tom Sawyer. And Sally thinks Huck is her nephew Tom, who's expected for a visit.
Huck plays along, but then the real Tom Sawyer shows up. Huck has to intercept him quickly.
Tells Tom the whole situation, that he's there to steal Jim. Huck fully expects Tom to be horrified, to condemn him.
Because Tom has good bringing up, right? He shouldn't approve of being a nigger stealer.
Tom's reaction. Pure excitement. His eyes light up.
I'll help you steal him, Tom
Huck is floored. He can't believe it. But of course, Tom isn't thinking about Jim's freedom or morality.
No, Tom sees an adventure, a chance to play out his romantic escape fantasies from the books. Jim's actual fate is secondary.
And this is where the satire just goes into overdrive. Tom insists they follow the rules of prison escapes from his adventure novels.
Even though, as the source points out, the real solution is simple. Jim's in a flimsy hut. They could just lift a log and let him out.
Too easy. No style. Tom decrees they must use case knives to dig him out.
Which Tom calculates will take about 37 years to dig through dirt and wood.
Yeah, like some famous prisoner who supposedly dug his way out and ended up in China. So they compromise.
They'll use picks and shovels, but they'll pretend they're case knives.
This letting on, pretending while doing the practical thing, that's pure Tom Sawyer. Hypocrisy is performance.
And they need a grindstone. A huge, gaudy, big grindstone from the mill.
To carve coats of arms and messages on. Utterly pointless.
Yeah.
And it's so heavy.
They make Jim sneak out of his prison hut to help them roll the damn thing back to his prison hut.
The absurdity is just breathtaking. The prisoner has to help with the ridiculously complicated escape plan designed by his rescuers.
And the stuff they make Jim do inside the hut? It's torture by literature.
Oh, totally. He needs a journal written in his own blood on a shirt, pens made from spoons and candlesticks, inscriptions carved everywhere.
Or rope ladder baked into a witch pie.
And pets. He needs to tame rats and spiders. Tom even suggests a rattlesnake for company.
Jim puts his foot down on the rattlesnake, thankfully.
Smart man. Then there's the flower he has to grow and water with his tears.
But Jim says he don't scarcely ever cry.
So Tom brings him an onion. Problem solved.
Poor Jim. He finally says, I never knowed before 'twas so much bother and trouble to be a prisoner. Understatement of the century.
And while Jim suffers, Tom is having the time of his life tormenting Aunt Sally.
Stealing spoons, candles, shirts, anything not nailed down just to create mystery and confusion, driving her crazy counting things.
Ripping up sheets for the rope ladder, then baking it in that pie Jim has to somehow eat or hide.
And the animals. The snakes and rats they collect get loose in the house.
Aunt Sally hates snakes. Every time one drops on her, she whoofs to Jericho. Uncle Silas wishes snakes had never been created. It's chaos.
But Tom isn't satisfied. The escape needs more style, more danger.
So he starts writing anonymous warning letters. Unknown friend, tipping off the Phelpses about the planned escape to ensure there's opposition. He wants the farmers to show up with guns. Otherwise, the escape would be perfectly slat, won't amount to nothing. He needs a dramatic climax.
He's literally manufacturing danger for everyone involved, especially Jim, just for the thrill of it.
Exactly. It's the ultimate critique of that romantic adventure mindset. It's selfish and potentially deadly.
So the climax happens just as Tom planned. The farmers, the vigilance committee, alerted by the letters, surround the hut.
Guns blazing. Chaos ensues during the escape attempt. And Tom
gets shot right in the calf. A fitting, if painful, consequence of his own manufactured drama.
But in that moment of crisis, Jim shows his true character. Again.
Yeah, Huck and Tom are ready to keep running, but Jim stops. He sees Tom bleeding.
And he refuses to leave him. I wouldn't budge a step out of this place, doubt a doctor, he says.
He risks his own freedom, literally moments away, for the kid who put him through weeks of literary torture. It's incredibly noble.
It confirms everything Huck believed about Jim's inherent goodness, the goodness he risked hell for.
Then comes the big reveal, or rather the big reveals.
That Polly shows up, Tom's Aunt Polly. Blows Huck's cover immediately. Everyone knows who's who.
But the real bombshell is about Jim.
Miss Watson died 2 months ago.
And in her will?
She set Jim free. Felt bad about maybe selling him down the river, so she freed him in her will.
Meaning, this entire escape plan, the digging, the grindstone, the snakes, the letters, the gunshot wound.
All of it, absolutely, dangerously, cruelly unnecessary. Jim was already a free man.
Tom knew this the whole time.
Yes. He knew Jim was free, but kept it secret just so he could have his grand adventure. For fun. It's absolutely damning.
Wow. That just lays bare the selfishness of Tom's romanticism.
Completely. It's not heroic. It's childish and dangerous.
And there's one last secret revealed. Jim delivers it.
Yeah, quietly, to Huck. Remember that dead man in the floating house way back near the beginning?
The one Jim wouldn't let Huck look at?
That was Pap. Jim saw him, but shielded Huck from it. He ain't coming back no more, Jim says.
So Huck has been free this whole time, too. Free from Pap, free from that threat.
Exactly. Both Huck and Jim were technically free long before the end, but they had to make the journey to realize it or have it revealed.
So, wrapping this whole incredible journey up, Huck's core conflict was always that internal battle, wasn't it? His conscience versus what society told him was right.
Absolutely. And his final decision always leaned towards his own sense of loyalty and freedom, even when he thought it was sinful.
The book mercilessly satirizes romantic literature through Tom's absurd plans,
while championing Huck's pragmatic, often difficult, path toward genuine connection and freedom.
And in the end, Jim is officially free, recognized as such. Tom recovers, gets to keep the bullet as a souvenir.
Of course he does. Wears it on his watch guard, treats it like a trophy.
And Huck, what's his final move?
He hears Aunt Sally talking about adopting him, civilizing him.
And he can't stand the thought, I've been there before.
So he makes his plan, light out for the territory ahead of the rest, keep moving west, away from civilization.
Seeking that open space, that unconstrained freedom, which was his goal all along.
Freedom isn't just escaping Pap or slavery, it's escaping Aunt Sally's rules, the town's hypocrisy, the whole civilized package.
Which loops us right back to that initial notice. We were warned. No motive, no moral, no plot.
And yet we found all three, didn't we? Motive. Huck's quest for personal freedom. Moral. Huck choosing humanity and friendship over societal rules. Plot. An intricate journey down the river satirizing the society along his banks.
So, was Twain setting us up? Was that notice the ultimate dare?
Prosecuted, banished, shot. If you actually understand the book, it makes you wonder, was the whole thing, the narrative itself, Twain's version of the Royal Nonesuch, a grand con played on the reader?
Daring you to see past the surface, to defy the author, to find the uncomfortable truths hidden in the humor and the adventure.
It's a fascinating thought. Huck navigates all this danger, all this phoniness, and his response is just to leave. Head for the territory. Keep seeking something real on his own terms.
A final challenge for us, maybe? If you really get the book, maybe you risk banishment from comfortable ideas. But if you don't,
you miss the whole profound point. Definitely something to think about long after you finish the story.
You've been on The Deep Dive.